What's up, everybody? It's the return of another week of Wannabe Wednesdays, and it's also the return of Woodshrew, your host for this week, seeing as Jack, KoreanBBQ, is currently teaming up with his boys on the United States servers, readying up for the open qualifiers for the Shanghai Major. And so that's going to be the reason why I'm having the great gift and honor to introduce my friend to you guys, Raiko Dota. Raiko, say hi to everyone.
Hi Ying, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm looking forward to a solid, meaty show today.
So in case you guys can't tell, Raiko's from the United Kingdom, representing South London. Yep. And me and him kind of go back to this, I think the end of 2014, I guess, when I started writing for JoinDota, and he was already there. And you can go ahead and, talk a bit about yourself when you were a writer over there.
So I started writing for JoinDota October 2014, I think it was, and then paid my dues there, wrote quite a few articles, and then stopped writing a lot of articles. And yeah, you came along. I think it was January you came along.
Yeah. I think the end of it, just at the end of
When a beautiful friendship was formed, and here we are a year later.
Yeah, dude. You can be a little bit more generous about yourself. If I'm not mistaken, you still do hold the record for most views on a single article. Is that not correct, Raiko?
I think that is correct, yes.
I do agree, yes.
Yes, in the history of JoinDota.com.
Right. It was the end of 2014's roster shuffle article, so...
Yeah, the one with Team Secret where Team Secret were came into fruition.
Yeah, it was like the formation of that team, right? So that was a long ways back. And we kind of assembled a little bit of a group and the editorial within the editorial group. Is that not right?
Yeah, our little squad, our little Dois boys, as we became known, named after the great Dois himself.
Yes, the boys of the Dois is what we named ourselves, and we played a lot of public games, usually on the European servers. We wrote a lot of articles, did a lot of Photoshop.
Shout out to Pedro.
Oh, of course, our in-house Photoshop master. No longer, of course, because most of us have retired from that tenure. But I mean, me and you also have a link with Jack, right? Since both me and you did a little bit of audio only casting for Dota FM.
Yeah. Whoa. Before was it like one of the summits? Summit 3? I want to say.
I think that was the one. Me and you casted a bunch of games. It was like Dota FM is a audio only broadcast stream that's been set up by Toffees, and he allows a couple of the low scale, the tier 4, tier 5 casters get a little bit of action in. No offense to all my boys over there, I love you guys, but we're just trying to make it in the world, and that's why we're here for Wannabe Wednesday. And Jack's playing in the open qualifiers right now, and I think that's a great transition to start talking about the Shanghai invites, since those were released in the past week since last week's show. And I'll go ahead and cover the direct invitations that were released by Valve. And starting off, we've got OG. Do you even know what that stands for, Raiko? OG? I can't.
We can list a few names.
Okay. So there isn't yet an actual abbreviation for anything, but OG is obviously the first invite that was sent out, since they were the winners of the Frankfurt Major. Evil Geniuses, Team Secret, eHome, CDEC, Vici, Vici Gaming, VP, and Alliance. And so that rounds out 8 teams, I think, for the direct invites. And I sent Raiko on a little bit of a mission, and I did a little bit of research myself, since I think 2 of our community members went out and released a bit of a response, 2 response videos covering their own thoughts and their perspective on these direct invites coming out, kind of unannounced as well. So Raiko went ahead and watched PPD's YouTube commentary, which was around 10 minutes. You guys can look it up on YouTube. It's not too long, pretty easy to digest. And you guys should definitely go ahead and subscribe to PPD, seeing as he does a really great job of getting out vlog content, but also some substantial amount of pro commentary on his own gameplay from his stream. And so, yeah, Raiko, take it away.
I think there's a lot of consensus amongst most people, and PPD reiterated that with the 7 first invites that came out, so everyone except Alliance on that list. And that's basically because they were the top 7 teams from the Frankfurt Major. So completing the in 8th in the Frankfurt Major was LGD, who obviously didn't get invited to Shanghai. And I think that's mainly because of WCA, you could say. Like, obviously, it's a major tournament. Was it like 650k prize pool or something like that?
Yeah, it was absolutely massive.
Yeah. Alliance took home. So winning such a big tournament like that, taking a spot away from LGD, that was the main point that PPD brought up. And yeah, he agreed with Alvin that Alliance are more worthy, so to speak, with their new / old roster of getting that Shanghai spot. And yeah, they have performed quite well recently. I think it is fair to say Alliance are back.
Oh yeah, for sure, dog.
We can back that meme.
Oh, come on. Full support, full steam ahead for Alliance.
Definitely. My boys
They're playing really, really well recently. But I think it is really peculiar that they were actually the grand finalists from WCA. In case you guys missed out, it was a best of 5, I believe. Is that correct, Raiko? Yeah, it's best of 5.
Yeah, fine.
And it went down all the way to the wire between the 8th and 9th placing teams from Frankfurt Major. In the very next, significant tournament that involved an international competition, Alliance came through 3-2 in the best of 5 grand finals and picking up their first LAN win in like my entire lifetime. I can't even remember the last time.
Let's go back. I'm on Wikipedia.
Let's just do it. Yeah. Let's do the fact
check. Dream League Season 1 against Cloud9.
Oh, that was a bitter defeat. I remember that.
Oh, was that for like really long game?
I don't know. I mean, I carry all scars of C9's defeats.
Don't we all?
I mean, at least 2015's iteration. I can't speak too much about the Ritsu, Leiden squad, but yeah, okay. Dream League Season 1. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that out actually on Wikipedia. Yeah, that was best of 5 as well. And that was like what? Let's see. What's the date of this? This is
June 2014. So.
Oh my goodness, that is a long time. Like 6 months, 7 months between LAN wins, I guess. Something like that. But yeah, getting back to what we were talking about on the Shanghai invites. So PPD mostly focused on that discussion. Was he like kind of backing Alliance then? And like
he was in favor of Alliance mainly because of WCA. He said you can't really disregard this this huge tournament, and then also talking about LGD roster changes. Was there? I feel like there was, but I'm looking at.
Was it with Siler, I think, coming in? I can't recall perfectly as well.
I'm looking at Wikipedia actually. It doesn't seem like they're August 25th. August 25th.
It's their very last roster movement, and that was when ROTK joined the roster, right?
Yeah.
And so, I mean, when you compare LGD and Alliance in terms of their roster stability, I think you kind of give the points to LGD, right? Since they've been together since August, and Alliance has shuffled around. But I feel like
maybe now you could give it to Alliance, because if they keep going like this, and then it's fair to assume that they would stick with this roster, especially considering the symbolic nature of the roster that is their TI3 roster.
Well, that's true, but also if you can't recall correctly, last year EGM also joined for a month, and he got kicked out really quickly. So maybe the gesture has some symbolism behind it, but you still have to stay together and win games, right?
That's true.
But but my main point bringing that up was that when you take into account things like roster stability for a team, those definitely have to come second, I think, and give way to LAN performances. And WCA actually had these two teams heads up on Chinese soil, so to speak, home court advantage to LGD, and they still weren't able to take it home. So Alliance definitely well deserved, I think. So was there anything else in PPD's video that you wanted to bring up?
Not really, to be honest. As far as the other invites were saying, it was pretty much PPD yes. He talked a bit about EG's performance and how he just brought up a few series against VP and teams like that, and their games against I think it was LGD in the last MLG tournament.
Okay.
I want to say
so
where they
touching on personal experience facing LGD, right?
Yeah, he was just talking about that, and then they faced them in the group stages and eliminated them in a best of 3. And he was just talking about how that was a tough game for both teams, and it was a shame that a strong team like LGD had to get eliminated at that point.
Well, it must be pretty nice just to be like, it's a shame that they had to face us, you know, such a strong team, but we dumpster them.
When you are champions of the International 2015, you can throw those things around.
Yeah, you could talk a little bit like that, I suppose. Yeah, I mean, EG didn't actually attend WCA, and I don't think we were able to give you guys a really proper recap of WCA 2015 because it kind of fell so close to the holidays. I think it ended on the 20th of December. Yeah, and so
it was a big, like, it wasn't that well publicized. I want to say, like, most events are big lands, especially when they're as big as 650k prize pool.
Yeah.
You know, it's everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But WCA was one of those lands that kind of sprung on people, and into day one, people were like, "Oh, this is happening. Let's watch this and talk about it."
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with like the studio involvement, maybe, because that was actually a source of controversy during that time because the stream quality was so like questionable. It had nothing to do with actually the studios, but it's just that the on-site production value was very like it left a lot to be desired. A lot of people were complaining. I think Dota wasn't even on the main stage until the grand finals, right? Were you able to catch any of that?
I saw some of that drama. I think it was on a secondary stage at some point, but it was never on the main stage, maybe, or the grand final was. But yeah, it's all these, like, most of these tournaments that are hosted in China do have some of these issues, either with like casting or just the studios being able to or not being able to be involved as much as they would like to. I know BTS have had a lot of problems with that. Eternal Envy obviously has a lot of problems going to China as well.
That I can vouch for. Yeah. I think Bone7 always tweets out that he has like a stomachache on the first day of everything. And he's like, I think, looking back as a C9 fan, I think everyone would be like, yeah, Bone7 has tummy aches again, guys. Looking grim for day 2. Can't eat anything. But it's just from the drama and like the negative attention that WCA 2015 got, when you compare it to like DAC, which was organized
beautiful tournament, that one.
Primarily by Perfect World, right? Who are like the Valve partnered sort of like gaming organization. Like they did like a really, really good job. I think pros were super happy with almost every aspect in terms of like practice rooms, hotel accommodations, translators on hand. Like the success of DAC had a very strong impact in terms of the viability of having a major system around the world, right?
Rather than I think a lot of people see that as a test major, really. So.
Yeah, exactly. It was sort of the major that we didn't realize was a major, and it just worked so well. I think DAC it had a really successful run for just compendiums as well. I think like there was a lot of contribution for the prize pool. It was like the first non-international TI tournament to reach like 1 million plus or something like that, if I'm not mistaken, Raiko. But
yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it was super successful. Actually, me and you, we did quite a bit of coverage for that tournament, right? I think.
The DSC?
Yeah, we did a little bit of writing with that. I did a bit of writing for that. I don't know if you were the little.
I was covered like one tournament.
Sure.
But if you want, I can take credit for that.
Okay, Mox Jew. Sorry about that. But WCA 2015, they weren't actually partnered with Perfect World. And which is a damn shame because with so much money on hand, I mean, it was like you said, $650,000 plus. That's US dollars. I think it was organized by like the actual municipal government. So like the cities.
Sure.
No. 100%. It was like it might have been like with some partnership with some gaming organization, but
that was the drama. It was the people who run league or something like that.
Yeah. Like there were some dirty ties, some shady backroom ties to league organizers who would like kind of suppress Dota's publicity, and so like they were playing in some back rooms with like no soundproof booths. Like I think I saw photos of like a European and like a Asian team facing up against each other, and it's just like
2009 LAN shit,
Yeah, it's like some throwback Dota 1. Like if you guys go ahead and fire up the YouTubes and look up some like Dota All Stars clips of Chinese players trash talking. It would just be like I mean, that's just what I look up. I don't know about you guys, but they had tables like lined up, that would fit like 5 computers, and they would have another table just facing, literally like edges of the tables touching, right? Just 2 tables, 10 computers facing each other, and like the trash talking was just like.
Shout out to Epic Man, one of the UK's biggest LANs, which still does that.
Oh my god, it's just
fit 300 sweaty fat British people in a hall. They just shout at each other like
How do you not just start fist fights? I don't know how.
No, it's not fist fights. It's hill fights. You go on the hill.
What? You're gonna have to be more. Okay, sure. We'll just leave it at that. Actually, I want to ask clarification on that. It's actually self-explanatory. No. The hill fights. Yeah, right. Yeah, you guys have to look up some YouTube videos of ROTK screaming in matches. I mean, it's all in Chinese, right? But you can still get a lot of the message through. I think across even language barriers. But yeah, WCA was sort of a mess, which is a shame because there's a lot of good teams that attended the tournament. Even though it was like a crazy mix of talent, I kind of had high expectations for it. And looking back with all the kind of negative, there was actually some studio beef, right, between, not to use like a rap term or anything, but BTS and JoinDota were kind of, because I think JoinDota had, they had secured like the contract with the
JoinDota with the official broadcast provider. Shout out to Dota with his long hours.
Oh yeah,
slaving away in the studios. Like big shifts were put in. Yeah,
of course, and BTS actually just went ahead and were like, you know what, we actually feel like casting it too. And JoinDota went up to WCA and they're like, what's going on with that? And then they're like, they have a ticket and they can cast it, and you guys didn't sign exclusivity or anything like that. I mean, this is as far as Reddit information goes, which is take that as you.
Oh yeah.
But there ended up being two streams, and I think that was a big reason why there wasn't that much press for WCA. Like, the studio wasn't, like, JoinDota wasn't obliged to sort of, like, prop it up because they didn't really have too much of a hand in it. Like, how much would it have sucked if JD had spent, like, 3 or 4 months building up WCA, and BTS comes in at the last moment, buys, like, a $2 ticket, in-game store, has, like, 80K viewers because it's, like, winter, right? And he's got like his legs on stream and his little basketball. We got 2 Merlini Pog chaps going ham. Yeah, that's undeniable, right? They even had Owen, right? OD Pixel on that stream, if I recall correctly. Yeah. So very, looking back at WCA, let's wrap back around to the Shanghai invites. Because that's pretty much all PPD had to say, pretty much, right? Just touching on the WCA events and how they related to it.
We can talk about CDEC if we want to stay on this.
I'll touch on CDEC because Nahaz touched on CDEC in his video. Right. Nahaz is obviously a little bit more of a wordy, more expansive speaker at times. He released a little bit longer video on YouTube. You guys can definitely should check it out. Doesn't have as many videos on his YouTube channel. Mostly him talking against PowerPoint slides. Who would have guessed? Professor, University of Western. Really
lovely little seminar.
Yeah, right. Like, whoa, who would have thought the university prof isn't using PowerPoint? But he's got a couple of videos up. Definitely should check it out. 17-minute long video, and he touches on a little bit more general, and he takes a little bit like a step back in terms of his perspective on the invites, and yeah, he kicks it off. Touching on Alliance's choice of inclusion over LGD, but he actually brings up the fact that he thinks that Team Liquid was probably a more worthy team in terms of just performance. Like, what do you think about that? In terms of, do you think Alliance is like superior to a Team Liquid in terms of like the strength of their play?
I don't know. I'm very much an Alliance fanboy.
Oh, okay. So it's sort of like tempering your views or something?
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay.
But can we get like head-to-head stuff up?
Statistics? Yeah, I mean you can try to bring that up, Raiko. But
okay. Keep talking.
Yeah, I'll try to cover more on the Haas's thoughts on it. But the main issue here is that regardless of how subjective views you hold in terms of what team is a stronger even heads up. Fact of the matter is, Alliance finished first at WCA, and Team Liquid came in third, which is good, but not good enough. And so Nahaz was still like, you know what, Alliance is justified to take that invite spot. The interesting thing was that the previous video, in terms of Nahaz giving his predictions for the direct invites, he spoke on LGD having maybe a more worthy spot over a team like CDEC. And I think I watched that video, and I may have closed the video during that time. No offense to Nahaz, because that guy's the nicest guy I've ever met in the scene. Yeah, I think he kind of went out and was like, "Sorry guys, I kind of dropped the ball there. I don't know what I was smoking that week, but CDEC definitely worthy a little bit more than LGD." And he even had some tournament results to bring up to kind of bolster that argument. I think CDEC has made like upwards to like towards $1 million in even just like non-international. Yeah, they made mad bank, and just looking at non TI5 winnings, right? And even though LGD had like a couple higher placing performances, I think CDEC still faced better competition and have just generally been playing better. And so that was sort of him addressing the public criticisms and sort of the issues that people have been talking about. But I think do you have any stats for the Team Liquid versus Alliance heads up?
Yeah. I think it's the last 3 meetings, as far as I can see. Yeah, Liquid have taken it. So if we're looking on a head-to-head sense, then yeah, they are stronger. But
this might have been also previous to Alliance's, rebirth, right?
To them being back, it's all in
the original roster, right? I mean, they swapped that out. Like what? Let's just go ahead and do all the facts.
Okay, so they're.
EGM came back on the 7th of December.
Yeah, the 7th of December. So
one
of the series was before that. Sorry.
Okay.
But yeah, the rest of them were
right
after that. So two victories for Liquid since.
Yeah, and that kind of confirms my general impression that Liquid is a bit better than Alliance, because I think I have watched at least one of those series or in passing, and Liquid is a really good team. Like.
Definitely.
It's kind of sucks that they had to take the short end of the stick and be on the outside looking in, right? Because, I mean, they were sort of on the outside looking in, even just at Frankfurt, because they didn't make it, if I'm not mistaken, right? Since
they were not there.
Yeah, I think OG beat them out in like the qualifiers, I think. So that was a really big blow, probably, to their kind of team morale, and for them to not also be worthy of a direct invite. It's probably something they expected at the very least. But that's still a little bit more bad news for them. They'll have to fight through the regional qualifiers. And I think this is probably a good time just to speak about the Shanghai Majors and how they're going to be organized, since we kind of have our own hand in the basket, since KoreanBBQ is playing in the open qualifiers as we speak. So I mean, we may as well talk about what a boy's up to. So there are 8 directly invited teams. But there will also be 8 more teams that will be joining them at Shanghai. And these will be coming through 2 teams from the American qualifiers, 2 teams from the European qualifiers, 2 teams from China, and 2 from C. So 2 from those 4 major regions. They're the open qualifiers that are taking place, at least for America, the Americas region, over today and tomorrow. And the winner of those qualifiers, that qualifier will join a list of teams in 2 round-robin groups. And those 2 round-robin groups are for each region. Okay? Are you still following me? Yeah, I'm kind of explaining to you guys and also to Raiko, because I'm sure he has to think this through.
I remember how it works from TI and from...
Okay.
It's all good. I've got Liquipedia up as well. Don't worry.
Right. So there'll be like 2 major groups for each qualifier for each region. And if you want to just looking quickly at like Europe, just for example... because this is probably where the most well-known teams are in terms of the West. You have Group A with Na'Vi, Empire, Hellraisers, and Team Spirit, and then an open slot for the open qualifier winner, the finalist, I believe. And then the Group B is Team Vega, Elements, and Liquid, Team Fantastic 5, and the Europe open qualifier winner, the other one. So I'm assuming the 2 finalists of the open qualifiers join these 2 groups, and the winner of the groups will also join. Will take 1 spot each in terms of Shanghai. So it's actually a pretty good chance that you know, Team Liquid can reach Shanghai. Not that I'm trying to boost them or I'm a big fan of them. It's just that I do want to see teams that are very worthy or close to worthy of a chance to compete to have that opportunity. And it's probably between them and Vega in that group. And in the other group, it's probably between Navi and Empire. Both teams, I think. I mean, that's actually a pretty sick. I mean, just as an aside, right? Because Navi, they sent Havost over to Team Empire.
Yeah, Havost.
That's
Havost over Empire. Yeah,
that's Havost versus Navi.
Havost and Phonic.
That's a big deal. That's actually a sick game. Like that would be really really good.
Yeah, that's big. I mean, we can say I know for a fact that Empire are confident. I've been talking to some inside sources.
I mean, you can go ahead and just say it. Like, we're good friends. So just say it. Come on, let's go.
Well, our boy Empire Twitter guy. Yeah,
boy.
He's given us the inside hand. He's showing the cards.
Talking about how drunk Host is at boot camps.
Yeah, he's a big drinker apparently.
Which should come to no surprise to anyone who has any idea.
I don't think that is shocking whatsoever.
I mean, just look at him.
The guy takes his beers well.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, it'll be a bit more sober when we come to play Navi. But
oh yeah, he's gonna have to shape up because I think those teams are like pretty close to even playing field.
Yeah,
I mean, they've both kind of had their resurgence after a little bit of a team movement, right? Player movement. I feel like Phonic and Empire are just like match made in heaven, and it's good to see Resolution looking motivated to play again after he kind of had that little bit of that beef with Silent, I think. So
yeah, it was.
And with Havost,
he's such a consistent player over the years. It's good to be able to see him play, and also it's an Invoker patch. Resolution's Invoker is huge.
Yeah, I mean, in case you guys didn't get the memo in your pubs yet, which I doubt, right? I think Invoker is one of the biggest heroes to see like a spike in picks, right?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a hero as prominent as Invoker.
Mm-hmm. So far, it's probably been the face of this patch. I mean, we don't have to do too much patch speculation as well because I do want to bring back up Nahaz's his video because he did cover some other things. But yeah, I do really want to see some Exhort Resolution Invoker and facing up against Dendi maybe. Dendi Invoker? He's like,
that's tasty.
That'd be good.
Nah, it's got to be with Dendi Puck versus Resolution Invoker, but that's the lane I want to see.
Is it not the Aether Lens Aghanim's Dendi Punch to take home the
that would good.
And the best of 5 series between EG and Navi in the grand finals of Shanghai Major? No, that's not the play. Okay, okay, Raiko. I'll do the storytelling. You do the writing. Anyways, yeah, going back to Nahas' video, having a little bit less fun about this, but he kind of did touch on the sort of dry but also very necessary topics of the kind of the beat to death kind of horse topic that is Valve's transparency about these invites and these picks, because it's always been a issue come year around with every international, because Valve just straight up doesn't say what goes into their formula, right, and what goes into the decision as to which teams get chosen and which do not. And as far as the international has been in existence, it's been an invite, it's been an invite-based tournament, right? You guys have been invited to the international, right? The very first international. And they don't want to come out and say how they decide, which is giving, a lot of pause for the teams and players themselves, gives them a lot of stress because they don't know if they're worthy of an invite until the very end, right? Until they get it or not, until the invites come out. And the fans feel that way as well, right? Because they just feel like they can't point to something directly and be like, man, it's coming down to the wire. Alliance really need to take home this, this last tournament and maybe get enough
points.
Enough points or something to edge out Vega, like that kind of thing. And I feel like coming through and just saying these kinds of things out loud and just having them on a website, it would just benefit the scene, if anything, right? It makes it more exciting.
I think we can be sure that it is some sort of ELO system like we see on sites like JoinDota and Gosu Gamers, because I know I made this Reddit post some time ago, I think around TI4, of how Gosu Gamers rankings and JoinDota rankings lined up to actual invites. And I know someone else did it, at TI5 as well. And it's actually very accurate. So you can kind of assume that there's some ELO system which is which is commonplace with these people.
Yeah, absolutely. These people. Yeah, no, like it makes the most sense.
Making graphs.
Yeah, but then you have the introduction of these majors, which kind of makes me pause to think that maybe Valve is relying on Elo, because a major victory, I mean, a victory at a major would foreseeably mean more to Valve, right, than like a plain victory, because Elo doesn't the method of ranking teams based on victory, like points for every win and losses for every losing points for every loss, right? That's the basis of Elo, and then you kind of like you make the calculation based on the relative strength of the teams, and so like a strong team that does well against a weak team doesn't get as many points for a victory. I mean, I'm not the best at like this kind of game theory, and also the way these teams are team performance is quantified and calculated, but I think that's the general basis of what Elo is. But if you have these major victories, then a victory at a major does not equal some Dream League season 900, right? 2019. Year 2019 when Alliance just crushes C9, right? So, I don't know. It's just a little bit more shady. And Nahaz kind of brings that up, and he's like, we have these other... He touches on other sports, like major sports competitions, which are sort of invite-based. He uses a comparison with the NCAA, the college sports kind of league in the United States for basketball and football. And he says that the transparency did a lot of good for basically the basketball league, the NCAA men's basketball championship, because there was a lot of questions as to the fairness of these invites and whether they were kind of motivated by like money and stuff like that, because there's a lot of money in college sports in the States, and they just went out, publicized it, and their selection is based on a committee, so it's not completely computer based, and so even though it is relatively subjective because they are relying on human judgment, that system has still been very, very successful, and that question of whether the invites are like kind of worthy or not, and like that question doesn't exist for NCAA, even though it was an issue in the past. And he basically draws comparisons. It's a good listen. I definitely recommend you guys to listen to it, because it just shows how different competitions can also structure themselves to avoid these issues that come up every year, right, Raiko? So
yeah, I think obviously if we're talking about that, the best system is going to be a middle ground to be between an ELO system and human judgment.
Yeah,
because occasionally you're going to get outliers in these systems.
Yeah, exactly. But why don't they just hand over a bunch of... I mean, if Valve is using a committee, right, an in-house committee of Valve engineers or something, I have no clue, because we just someone tell us. So apparently, like maybe a room of 10 people in Valve headquarters, right? How about you go ahead and give those people the Valve ELO ratings, right? And also put those up on your Dota2.com website so we can all take a look, and then at least we have some general idea as to what those people are making their decision based off of, right? And it would just be so much better. But whatevs. Nahaz moves on, and he also talks about the roster lock dates for these open qualifiers and how these kind of qualifiers just jumped up out of nowhere, I guess. I mean, we all sort of knew that Shanghai Majors were coming up, but does it feel a little bit too soon for these qualifiers? What do you think?
What, as in just very short notice?
I mean, yeah, in terms of like they're short notice. They're kind of coming, especially the open qualifiers, right? Because
I think all of it was though. Like people didn't know the invited teams. Like just it was a few days before signups for the open qualifiers ended. So it was all quite compact, and everything happened very quickly. There wasn't much time to sign up, like at the last minute.
Mm-hmm. It was last minute, as you said. And I would imagine, like, I mean, if you're a team and you have a couple of, I'm just trying to think about it in terms of my North American perspective. There's a bunch of teams that have a lot of great players that are constantly kind of in flux, right? Because that's just how the North American scene is, I suppose. And when you have these invites come out, and then open qualifiers are set to begin, a matter of days or weeks, it just forces everyone into like a really tense and difficult position. So like, just grab all your players that you can, and let's just round them all up, because these open qualifiers are happening pretty soon, but these regional qualifiers are happening not that soon, I'm assuming, right? It just feels like super spread out. And Frankfurt Major doesn't feel like that long ago, right? I don't know about you, but
Oh yeah, definitely not.
it just feels kind of strange that, going through these holidays, we haven't had a chance to watch even like that much Dota, right? Because the last major tournament was like WCA, and we're already kind of starting the qualifiers from the Shanghai Major, and we haven't even really established a meta, right? Like me and you were just speaking about how is this the Invoker patch, is this Resolutions patch or whatever? Is it the Dendi Pudge patch? Well, we don't know because we haven't really watched that much high level EU Dota, and so it kind of feels awkward to me. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, if we look at the actual dates for the Shanghai Major, it is March, so it's still a good 2 months away, and qualifiers are not starting. The main qualifiers start later this week. Yeah, in a couple of days' time, basically. So once
regional qualifiers, you mean?
The main qualifiers.
Yeah, so the regional ones. That's what you're saying.
Yeah,
I think that's what you're referring to. Yeah. And so that starts on the 7th. Holy crap! So yeah, regional qualifiers are on the 7th. Yeah, that's weird. That's weird to me because this patch just came out and we don't even have.
That's a long time between the qualifiers and the actual major itself as well.
Right.
So qualifiers are ending on the 10th.
And then 2 months.
Over a month until.
Yeah. No, I don't know about this. That just feels off to me. Because think about it. Between Frankfurt and today, right? We've had the holidays, right? And that's like 2 weeks of where no one really can play Dota. No one really wants to kind of plan out a tournament. Only reason we have WCA is because the Chinese don't celebrate New Year's at the same time as everyone else, and so they don't have any issue with throwing up a tournament on December 25th because their Chinese New Year is like somewhere early spring for us Westerners. So, I mean, if WCA wasn't even around, like we would have had nothing, more or less. Which is just, I don't know, it just seems a bit weird. And that is another point that Nahaz makes. He kind of brings up just the passing to close out the video. He's like, well, this proximity to Frankfurt and Shanghai Majors just feels a bit uncomfortable, and I definitely in agreement with that.
Well, looking at the dates on Wikipedia, we're basically halfway through. Like, Frankfurt ended 21st of November, is saying here. So we're like six or 7 weeks from that.
Yeah.
And then it's 2 months until Shanghai, so it's basically in the middle. But then I think if you look forward, it seems weird to squeeze too many major tournaments in between these, or even minor tournaments. So I think we're going to see the scene as a whole being quite different going forward now, because there's not going to be much room at all.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Teams are going to boot camp instead of going to these tournaments and traveling around.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of
so big.
I kind of discarded the fact that there were no tournaments in between Frankfurt and Shanghai, but I mean, I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I just forgot that Summit was also that was a thing that happened. Yeah. But even then, it was that's like a little bit of a niche tournament, right? To your point, that there's just the tournament culture in terms the tournament scene outside of Valve sponsored and kind of organized events is gonna have to change and adapt really quickly to this sort of segmented season now, right? Because you just have to deal with it. That teams will not come to your tournament if they are invited or in any way involved with something else that's gonna contribute to these majors, right? And even to add on to that, like these tournaments aren't just tournaments. These majors aren't just majors in and of themselves. They are tournament organizers working with Valve. And if you think ESL isn't gonna put all their effort into just making their major look and just feel the best, then you're just crazy. And so they're probably going to just kind of decrease the frequency of their minor tournaments and their involvement on like online tournaments and stuff like that. And so, this next Shanghai one, it's going to be with Perfect World. And so it's going to be the DAC round 2. And it's going to be amazing, right? But that's just another point to Perfect World not getting involved with, organizing another, mini tournament that's similar to like WCA. So that's just how it is now, I guess, right?
Yeah, I think if you go back a few steps and think about when you're mentioning ESL, that kind of makes me think about what place current major tournament organizers have now in the scene. Because so you have the summit, which is obviously going to happen, but that's not a major LAN event, even though the prize pool is quite big and it's big teams. It's just different.
Yeah.
So that will always exist in its own bubble. And then you have MLG, who ran a few major events. With the fact that Blizzard picked MLG up recently, they now have a majority share in MLG.
Wait, Blizzard? Activision?
Yeah, Activision Blizzard.
Right. Yeah. That I have no idea what that means or for the company, but yeah.
Well, I think it means that no more Dota. It could mean that, it could not mean that, but that's just speculation. I think it's quite likely that.
I think we can also speak with a little bit of our inside information that MLG was not too pleased with their Dota performance.
Oh yeah, definitely not.
Yeah, their product that they put out there was a little bit sub.
Yeah, they were livid.
Based on like the amount of money that they invested and like infrastructure. And there was a partnership, in case you guys didn't know, between JoinDota and MLG to sort of set up this this year-long circuit that would culminate to like a MLG World Finals, which did take place in New Orleans. But I don't think people really knew / cared, just because it just wasn't handled too well, I suppose. For what
I remember the whole integration with JoinDota League didn't really work. There was just a lot wrong with it, really.
Yeah, things just didn't. It just went wrong. I won't say that it was like anyone's like responsibility, direct responsibility, but it just didn't really click. And so, if MLG's out, like you said, then
and ESL as well. Like they have the major, and I don't know. Like obviously, their Frankfurt tournament is still going to take place, but I don't know
in the Commerce Bank Arena, right? That big soccer arena.
But the teams don't enjoy a 2-day single elim tournament. Like
no one thinks that.
There's complaints about the format.
Exactly.
I think maybe ESL have to change their ways or think about how they can get around that, because if like teams just won't want to play, they have no incentive to play tournaments in between majors anymore. As long as they can still prove themselves to Valve in between the majors and get themselves invited, they're gonna do the bare minimum to get that, basically.
Yeah, and also just off of that topic, like you just said, or like off of your point rather, if teams know that they've qualified the next major, they're not gonna go risk that. Like if they're playing really well at a major, for example, like you said, top 7 or top 8, which is sort of what we saw between Frankfurt and Shanghai, right? Because the top 8 teams from Frankfurt, top 7 got direct invites. So if you are within the top 8, you have a very good chance. Right. Yeah. You pick up some kind of LAN win.
I think you can assume you're invited.
Exactly. And so these 8 teams are the 8 most fascinating teams for fans to watch, right? They carry some of the biggest, groups of fans and fan bases. If they know they're going into the next major, what's their incentive to come to your, major tournament? Is it money? Who knows, right? It depends on each individual player, each individual team. But it's not going to be the way it used to be, right? Because now they know that once they pick up these major wins, well, they don't know for certain because Valve hasn't really come out and said it, but we kind of could infer, and they can be pretty happy with, hey, if we picked up one major in 2015, 2016, we have a good chance of getting that direct invite to TI, right?
Yeah.
And so we're not coming to ESL playing a single limb tournament, flying out to Europe if you're an NA team or a Chinese team, right? Or we're not coming all the way over to like Dream League season 66. So, not to completely rail on those guys, but this is the biggest thing is where does Dream League tournaments like that kind of stand? They're just gonna have to die out if they don't adapt, right?
Because the prize pools are not big.
No.
Maybe we see these minor tournaments that attract tier 2 teams being more common. So you see
exactly
whatever 5 European players. Or whatever 4 players are playing with Pika at any point in time could win a tournament.
Oh man, that was harsh. At least go Bambo, right? At least we can all just go against Bambo.
Well, those 2 players are currently playing
together. Okay, that was just hilarious. Okay. Pika plus Bambo plus 3, right?
Yeah.
PJ plus B. Oh man. Okay, but yeah, that's to your point. If these tier 1 teams are content and they know they're in good places, if they're Gucci, then it's just going to be a crud load of tier 2 teams playing on Twitch TV all the time. And, that's not maybe the best thing for our scene either, right? Kind of sucks. That means but it still kind of sucks, And even these teams getting direct invites, it's kind of a shame because I would really like to watch these guys play Dota. When was the last time
we play for a week?
Yeah, I mean, when was the last time we watched EG play a game that they cared about?
I don't know.
It's just so long. They just don't play much.
The last time I saw Secret play, they were just throwing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah. Envy saying on his Ask FM just all the stuff about Secret's attitude, and they're just not practicing, and it's all going downhill because there's no motivation. So yeah, you need a big tournament like Shanghai Major 2016.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I think that's my sister downstairs playing piano. I don't know if you guys can pick that up on the podcast recording.
I think we could actually.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, I mean, this pretty much wraps up our thoughts on the Shanghai invites, right?
Yeah.
And what its kind of repercussions are on the tournament scene. Raiko, it was a pleasure. Okay, I think we're kind of reaching that sweet spot for our podcast length. It was. Thank you for stepping in, my man. I mean,
it's no problem. It's a pleasure.
Out of the Dota 2 quiet, out of the Dota 2 pub stack, straight onto my podcast co-host chair. Thanks a lot for helping me out. I hope Jack's doing okay at his open quals with his 5K stack. I'm sure he's got great aspirations for his budding professional career. In case his translating job at Shanghai doesn't, come through, but. You want to do any shout-outs, Raiko? You want to bring this thing home?
Are we going in for our shout-outs, man?
I think it's time.
Yeah, well, I think our first shout-out has to go to the boy Manistrix GDS.
Yeah, 100%.
Brought both of us where we are today.
And our father, our Lord, Manistrix GDS. I'm gonna go ahead and follow up with shout-out to JoinDota and Kit Kat. Those two.
Love those guys. Stay holy, guys. Shout out to Nahaz, obviously our stats man, and inspiration for a big chunk of this podcast, bringing some good stats, some good knowledge to the Dota 2 scene.
Our fair leader Jan.
Yeah, wherever he's up to now.
Keep it up, Raiko. Keep going.
Shout out to Proxy, one of the great stalwarts of JoinDota editorial in my day. Oh, yeah. Many articles carrying
that guy was just a monster. He's writing at Dota Blast right now, in case you guys want to keep up with his writing. But yep. I guess I gotta follow Sam Kennard, another one of the original Doys boys in our pub stacks. I'll go ahead and follow up with Doys and Pedro to round out the original Musketeers.
Yes.
Come on, Raiko. You can take it.
Yeah, shout out to Moxjo, the finest writer I've ever seen in the island of Australia. We're bringing some great journalistic talent to join throughout the year of 2015. Really sad to see him go.
All right.
Hope he's living it up.
Okay. And I'll take it home and close it out with shout out to Kips, Mr. Kool-Aid, and Gorgon. Those were my TI5 boys. Hey. That was the squad. It was great to meet you guys in person, and hopefully I catch you guys at an event this year or in the future. And that's it for us on Wannabe Wednesdays. Of course, you guys can check out the rest of our podcasts at the Defense of the Patients at defenseofthepatients.com. We've got our Twitter handle at @.p_show. Got a YouTube channel for some sweet videos, .ptv1, or just search up Defense of the Patients. I'm sure you guys will find it. Twitch.tv/.ptv for anyone of our lovely radio voices streaming some of their gameplay. And we've got an Amazon banner on the website that you guys can check out if you guys want to help us out a bit. And tomorrow we'll hold you over with Theorcraft Thursdays. And you can follow me at Woodshrew Dota on Twitter. You can follow my boy Raiko Dota. That's at Raiko Dota on Twitter as well. Yeah, Raiko man. I think that's it. Good job.
Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, and so have a good evening or good morning if you guys are downloading this on Wednesday. So take care, guys.